Well, hello and welcome to Business Unusual. I'm Liz Whitehead, co-mastermind at Diversity Masterminds, and I'm here as always with Heather Cox.
Hi, the other co-mastermind of Diversity Masterminds.
And our guest today is Quinn Conyers. Hi, Quinn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. We're so happy that you're here, and we're going to get into what happens when business unusual becomes business as usual. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about you and your company.
Yes, of course. Well, my name is Quinn Conyers, and I train women in business how to turn conversations into cash they can profit from public speaking. I personally believe that your voice, public speaking, presenting is literally the number one marketing strategy that you need to use if you want to be successful in business. However, a lot of women in business really do not put the time and attention they need into developing their voice. And I believe that by doing that, you're literally leaving money on the table. So my goal, my passion is to teach you how to have conversations that truly lead to cash.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Right?
Yeah.
I told you to love her. I told you. I know.
Yeah.
Quinn and I were on a panel together not too long ago, and I was like, "Oh, she's one of us. We need her."
Yeah.
And I think it was you. Wasn't it you, Quinn, who said to stop saying that you help people? Was it you?
Yes, that was me.
Yeah.
That's my tangent. If you ask for my 2 cents, I'm going to give you a nickel, dime, or quarter on that word. But yes, I go down a
Yeah.
full-fledged rabbit hole with no apologies.
Right, because every time I'm about to type it, I'm like, Quinn said don't say it.
Right.
Not gonna do
Right.
it.
So how long have
Yeah,
you been
so
doing this? How long have you been helping women, right? Is it just women or any business owner?
So my specialty is women. I do help a few good men, but I have seen that through my experience and expertise that women want to be helpful. Women want to play it safe. We settle. So we tend not to toot our own horn, or we tend to literally downplay our greatness. So it's my job to kind of be that professional horn tooter to say, listen, you are great, you are amazing. So let's step into that. Whereas men, don't really need that. I mean, they could be 2 seconds like into something and they consider themselves an expert. Whereas women will literally have 20 to 30 years of experience and still dance around it. Like, well, I don't know, maybe, so it is, I do super serve women. Like it definitely is, because I see that the need is more there. The confidence, boosting needs to happen a little bit more with women than it does with men.
And how did
so
you?
I have a question. Yeah, I have why do you think that is? Is it just like, are we socialized that way? Like, how do I make sure that look, my 6-year-old I'm not worried about because she already told me that she's perfect. But I think like if we all have the confidence of my 6-year-old, we'd be golden. But like, why do you think it is that women do that? Because I think I told you that story that I'd hired this consultant or Advatio, and I said to him like, any break, and he was like $1,000 an hour, by the way. I'm like, any break in the price? He's like, nope. I'm like, huh? He didn't even waver because in his mind, he's worth every penny of that fee. So why is it that women will give in so much more than men?
It's a mindset, and we've been taught to be helpful. So we never want to overstep our boundaries. I think we've been conditioned to be that supporting role. We've been conditioned and trained, that being boastful, being, confident in who we are, could be seen as another way. It's just the same reason why a lot of men make more money, than women, and not because they're better at it. It's because they're not afraid to negotiate. A lot of times when a woman's offered a salary, she takes it because she's so grateful for the position, versus men will negotiate the heck out of something to get what they feel like they need or deserve. So I just think that it's a lot of gender related. It's how you grew up in a household. I mean, we're talking about women, but also women of color. That's a whole nother conversation of a layer and level of just, not necessarily knowing how to verbalize their value. So they take, what comes, versus being more assertive and less appreciative to the role that they can play. And that's what I'm realizing is happening.
How long have you been doing this?
So I've been speaking for 13, 14 years, and I went full time as a speaker entrepreneur in 2015. So I've been 5 years, full time. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Liz, one of the things that Quinn does, which is so cool, is that she does pitch competitions because she found that she could make tens of thousands of dollars through pitch competitions.
Yeah. So that's part of how I funded my business. I mean, I just personally believe I'm a champion and a cheerleader for women to use their voice in every aspect of their business. You use it as a marketing strategy, lead generation, or even funding source. And when I was running my bag business, I didn't feel really comfortable or confident going to a bank and asking for a loan of line of credit. And I found out about these things called business pitch competitions that Heather just mentioned. And it's where you give, entrepreneurs give their best 30, 60, 90-second, even 2 to 5 minute elevator pitch, and whoever has the best pitch wins. Well, I like to talk, so sign me up. And I was like, okay, I can win money doing this. And that's what I did. So I entered a competition, and I definitely lost more than I won, but I was winning like $5,000 here, $10,000 here, to be able to, get my products off the ground. But again, I use my voice to fund my business.
Awesome. Yeah. So now you're uniquely positioned to show other people how to do it.
Correct.
So how did that happen? How do people speak and use their voices during COVID when we're not going to conferences?
Oh, virtually. I mean, this is a virtual platform now. I mean, your voice is your voice. And the good thing about it is that your voice can be visible on any platform. So now it's about being intentional, right? So it's easy for us to go to a conference, a workshop, be in a room and hear a speaker. But now it's just about pivoting, and it's about kind of switching up your plan, because there's meetings still happening. They're just virtual. But now there's another layer. So you have to be compelling on camera now. It's a little bit easier to be in a room and take the energy of the room and just the aesthetics of the room, versus if it's just you in your revenue room or your home office or wherever you are. So it still can happen, but I think speakers have to be more intentional, or entrepreneurs have to be more intentional about engaging, their virtual audience, because they're still happening. I remember there was a statistic like before COVID, there was like maybe 7,000 meetings that were happening a day that needed a speaker or a presenter. But after
Wow.
COVID, it's now 9,000 because everybody has to go online. So again, it's like it's happening. It's just about, are you fighting this transition? Are you embracing this transition? Because meetings, workshops, seminars, virtual events, interviews are all happening virtual. So it's not if, it's how are you transitioning?
Right.
Right. The threat became the opportunity in a way.
Yes. Yes. And you can speak and serve, in multiple places. I mean, because if you were an entrepreneur or you're a speaker, I mean, you could literally be on a plane every other day if you were super busy, you know what I mean? But now it's like you can literally speak and serve, various audiences in a week and still be home and have time to cook dinner and, give the kids a bath. Whereas before, it's like you're calling home like, hey, honey, yeah, can you give the kids a bath and cook? I'm running a little late, I'm in traffic. Whereas you have to go upstairs or downstairs to be able to do that.
Awesome. Well, you
Right.
mentioned something in that you said you're either in your revenue room or your home office. What's a revenue room?
So a revenue room is where I am in right now. It's just a fancy upgraded word for a home office. I feel like a home office sometimes seems mundane. I'm like I'm a language junkie, so I love words, language, like, sign me up for the nerd language club. Like that's where you'll find me. And this girl that I was following was just like, this is my revenue. This is where I birth ideas that are going to make me that $1 million, $2 million. So that's where I am. My revenue room. It's a different feel when you say revenue room versus my home office. Home office makes me feel like you got to do work and it's mundane and it's another to-do list, where revenue room is like, ooh, I don't know what's going to happen when I come out of here. Is it a $5 million idea? Is it a $3 million idea? I don't know. I don't know what's happening in the revenue room, but it's just like, yeah, it just sounds good. It sounds good.
Yeah, I feel like there should be champagne in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or especially wine.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Champagne belongs everywhere. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you did? So you're saying like people have to pivot, they have to, adjust what they did. What are some things that you had to do to switch up your speaking business during this time?
Definitely be more intentional about virtual, and also be very intentional about being engaging. So when I speak, I mean, I love speaking workshops and things like that. So if somebody says something that I like, I'll be like, yes, right? So just little things like that. I'm like, I just try to add that extra element of just visual and props. Like at any point in time, something can go down. I'm like, listen, when you're speaking or you're motivating, you can have a small payday or a big payday. You make your choice, right? So I have all types of like tricks up my sleeve where I just go the extra mile, not just to tell you what I'm speaking about, but to show you. So one of the biggest pivots that I made was really incorporating tangible things that people could see and not just hear, but also make sure that when I did speak, it's not necessarily just a monologue, but a dialogue. So I am connecting with Heather, I'm connecting with Liz. Like it's not just Quinn on stage, but it's an experience where we're exchanging information and ideas. I just happen to be the presenter at the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think you're really good at that, Quinn. Like when in the panel discussions, or I've seen you in other podcasts you've done, where you make sure that you're reaching out to support the other people involved, so that even if you're the main person, even if it's like the Quinn show, you're like, but these are the people who have ideas. It's supporting your community while presenting yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm very communal. I say I'm a sisterhood, village, tribal. I live by philosophy, woman left behind. So I just feel like, when I make it, whatever make it is, or whatever I be when I grow up, right? I'm still trying to figure that out, that, I want to be, successful and surrounded. Like, I don't want to get to the top and be like, oh, Heather's not here. Liz is not here. Like, this is not, who am I supposed to drink champagne with? Like, that's not fun. So I am very communal and tribal, and we're in this together. That is definitely my philosophy. I'm high-fiving, hugging, handshaking. Like, that's kind of where I am. That's why it is an adjustment for me, because I am like a super extrovert. So, I mean, being around people and energy is like my thing. And that's why I have to do creative things to kind of still get my fix. So everything I do, I'm like, can we do Zoom? I want to see you. They're like, Quinn, I'm not just a phone call. I'm like, no, let's do Zoom. Like, I need to see somebody. Right. So that's been a part of it too. Just finding how I can still like show up as my authentic self in a space where we're virtual, where I love live,
Yeah. I love what you say about community. I mean, Heather and I talk about that all the time. I just,
Right.
I collect my spend with diverse business owners every year. Heather sent out a huge package of all diverse owned business stuff. What are some of the things that you do to buy from diverse business owners or business owners that you partner with?
Well, Liz, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm Black, right? So the majority. So to be honest with you, just in case, a lot of times, my diversity outreach isn't as much of a stretch or a strategy, because that is a part of my everyday life. I am in the minority. I am a woman of color. So me literally supporting another woman, another Black woman, another Latina woman, another Asian woman, it's non-negotiable for me. It doesn't have to be a box I need to check off. I do that automatically because I know the disadvantage that, we are coming from. So I don't have to make any extra efforts. It's pretty much my reality. I lived it. I know other people who are doing it. So I don't even look at it as how am I supporting, diverse businesses? I am a diverse business, right? I am a person who is considered in society's world marginalized, or, have to kind of fight a little. I got to be a little scrappier, right? To get my piece of the pie. So it's like diversity is just, it's not automatic, but it's the way that I live. Like, people are saying support Black businesses or support women-owned businesses. Like, it's what I do because it's who I am. So it's not a requirement for me. It's just a part of my business model.
Nice.
Well, I think that goes for a lot of us. Like, it's kind of in our DNA right now that and I hope that I'm raising my kids the same way, because it's like, you should see us in Target. It's like a hoop. Mommy, is this woman owned? Mommy, is this Black owned? Mommy, is this whatever, right? They're like running with products all over the place. But I think that it's so important for all of us, right, to demonstrate to other people that these are our values. And this is why it's so important. And we say it all the time, I mean, hundreds of times a day, your values are what you spend your money on, right? So it's even though it's obvious for you, right, it's kind of like a no-brainer that you would do that because you are a woman of color. It still sets an example for so many other people, because it isn't it isn't a no-brainer for so many other people.
I know. And then, I mean, that's where I come into the conversation where I can kind of open it up, and it's not that people are not, but if it's not your reality, it's not your reality. So you don't know, some of the other things, but I also am very mindful of not positioning women or Black women or women of color as a charity case either. Like, oh, please
sure not,
support. Right. So it's just a fine line, but it's just having those conversations. And then some people just don't know. If you come from a majority and your world is all Asian, because that's how you grew up, you might not know about white women or Asian women or Latina or Black women opportunities because that's how you grow up, right? So thank God I grew up in a very, very, diverse, neighborhood and upbringing. So again, even some Black people ask me, I see you in rooms, Quinn, and you are completely comfortable. I would be very uncomfortable as the only Black person in the room, so I'm even educating other people who are melanated or, who are of color, how to navigate rooms where you might be the only one or the only woman, and how do you still have those conversations, because that can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
So one of the things we like to ask people, obviously, so we all want to be in those rooms again, obviously not rooms of all white people or whatever, but we want to be together in rooms.
We want to be in person together, not through Zoom. That's what we're saying.
And after coronavirus goes away, is there anything that you'd like to see stay?
I honestly, love the virtual because it allows me to still be a mom and a wife with less frustration and be an entrepreneur, right? So those are three hats that I wear. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I just remember just the hustle and bustle of, having to go to these speaking engagements. So to be honest with you, I know that when things go back to normal, in quotation marks, right, that there's going to be a lot of people doing a hybrid. So I know for a fact that I'm going to have a hybrid fee. You can have me speak virtually because I've been doing it for the last hour, last year or plus change whenever the world opens up, or I can come in person. But now I'm understanding how much more fees are associated with that, my mental now. So now that I know that it can be done virtual, I wouldn't mind staying, because at one point I had 6 virtual speaking engagements in a week, and I was still able to make dinner, be a great mom, and have my husband not trying to kick me out the house for being a businessaholic, right? So all in that, I couldn't do 6 speaking engagements the traditional way,
right,
and make everybody happy. Somebody would have been upset. Kids wouldn't have ate, somebody would have been upset. I wouldn't have been able to pull that off.
You gotta admit though, you did like getting away from those kids every once in a while, right? Because I know I do.
I do. To be honest with you, I do. And I still like it. Like, trust me, I'm going to go, but I think that them being home for the 3 or 4 months, but also I have younger kids and they have they're a learning center. So they're still going. So I'm getting my sanity now. So I drop them off and come back. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that as long as they can stay in school and virtual.
Yeah, no, I was telling people that after this year, I will not be having any mommy guilt for going on business trips for a little while, because I've had a lot of togetherness.
Yeah. You get real up close and personal with your children. I'm like, did you have a peanut butter and jelly? Why can I smell that on your breath? Like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a whole new world of intimacy and closeness that I don't know if I really want it or not,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next year's going to be all about independence for the kids. Independence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really awesome. We've heard a lot of people talk about how the accessibility for them to go to conferences, like I can be at a conference here and there, but we haven't heard people talk about it from this perspective, like I'm speaking at a conference. So that's really fascinating. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all we have. We can wrap up now, but Quinn, thank you so much for sharing this. I would love for people to be able to find you so they can use their voice to make cash. How do they find you?
Well, the best way, go to my website, QuinnConyers.com, or LinkedIn is my social media of choice. So if you go to LinkedIn and type in Quinn Conyers, I'm the only one, I checked. You're going to see me pop up, and then we can connect there. So, between QuinnConyers.com and connecting with me on LinkedIn, we can make your voice visible in your business, in your career, overall. So that's how I show up and how I serve.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time on Business Unusual.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.